Working on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was death by a thousand paper cuts, and the next movie is almost definitely not coming out in 2024. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, it's David Chen. I talk about TV, movies, tech, and the media. And today in Vulture, Chris Lee has a damning story about the working conditions under which Across the Spider-Verse was made. If you enjoy movies like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, you should care about the conditions under which it was made. Because if movies like this are made unsustainably, if they churn through a bunch of talented artists, that means fewer movies like this will get made in the future. I've read this whole story. I'm going to summarize it for you, but the biggest takeaway is that Phil Lord was a major creative voice on the film. He apparently had the power to override notes of the three actual directors of the movie. And that's not necessarily a problem, but the main issue seemed to be that Lord would make multiple changes to finished sequences many times. I think changes in an animated film are really common, even late-stage changes, even repeated late-stage changes. But the issue with Across the Spider-Verse seems to be that there are so many of them, and that people were given such a short timeline to react. One person is quoted as saying, "Phil does have good ideas, he speaks creatively really well, and listening to Phil can be inspiring, but the process is not inspiring. The analogy for the way Phil works, it's getting a whole bunch of construction workers to make a building without a blueprint. You get them to start putting bricks on top of each other, you get the wood guys to put the wood in, put the windows in, and get some metal scaffold in there, and he's like, nah, knock that part down. But show me some construction worker who can put bricks on top of each other again and again, and then watch it get knocked down on a daily basis." End quote. Over 100 animators left this project during the course of production. One of the saddest things I read in the article is many animators were compelled to stay with the project, even though it was destroying their lives, because if they didn't stay until the end, then their work might not make it into the final film. So they'd end up working super hard and then not really have anything to show for it. According to one person who worked on the film, the hardest thing on the animators has not been working 11 hours a day, 70 hours a week. It's been the wasted work and the frustration of putting in that many hours just to see it changed or thrown away. Those wild hours, by the way, are only possible because Sony Pictures Imageworks, the main studio that worked on the movie, is non-union. And of course, the working conditions are going to impact when Beyond the Spider-Verse actually gets released. According to one person who worked on Across the Spider-Verse, they've announced that Beyond the Spider-Verse will be released in March of next year. I've seen people say, oh, they probably worked on it at the same time. There's no way that movie's coming out then. There's been progress on the pre-production side of things, but as far as the production side goes, the only progress that's been made on the third is any exploration or tests that were done before the movie was split into two parts. Everyone's been fully focused on Across the Spider-Verse and barely crossing the finish line, and now it's like, oh yeah, now we have to do the other one, end quote. Maybe Beyond the Spider-Verse will come out in 2024, but I don't think there's any chance they're going to hit that March release date. The Vulture story talks about how lives have been impacted, how enormous stress has been placed upon these people. So what do the producers have to say about all that? Well, according to Amy Pascal, one of the producers on the film, one of the things about animation that makes it such a wonderful thing to work on is that you get to keep going until the story is right. If the story isn't right, you have to keep going until it is. I guess, welcome to making a movie, end quote. And that, folks, summarizes the attitude of producers towards people that actually do the work. I'm David Chen. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving me a like, follow, and subscribe. See you in the next one.